Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Kindness Rising, your morning dose of hope, humanity, and heart. I'm Matthew Roof, the Uncommon Kindness Guy, and I'm here to bring you Kindness Rising. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects. What if I told you that the easiest way to kindness is free? It connects you to people, and it makes the world a better place. Today's topic, asking great questions. What if one act of kindness that costs nothing, takes no training, and transforms relationships was right at your fingertips? Well, it is when you ask the right questions. This is my experience. I want to talk a little bit about how I use great questions and how questions have impacted my life every day. I want to talk about social media. Recently, I've gotten really into delivering new social media messages, trying to spread the word about kindness, telling people about my business. And I use questions every day to hook people in, to drive emotion, to really make people feel like they want to know what's going on and engage. So here's some questions that I've asked recently on my social media. What would happen if we focused more of our attention on affect or on effect over affect? What if I told you there's a better predictor of success than intelligence? What's worse than poorly executed AI generated content? These are all questions I've asked on social media. Lately, I've seen an increase in engagement and activity and people wondering what's going on. That's what we want to do. We really want to drive that engagement. And so that's what I do on social media. I ask those questions. But what's key about those questions is they're open ended. When we ask questions that elicit emotion, they elicit response, it brings out thought in people. That's when the questions make a difference. We don't want to ask questions that people can answer with, yeah, no, okay, right? We want to ask questions that bring out the best in people, that really make them think and really want to again, drive that engagement. I got a question for you. Why is this fly flying in front of my face? All right. So seriously though, questions are really, really important for us in terms of making connections with people. And why is that? You know, I always like to talk about research. Harvard did some research. What's the most uh, influential factor in people being likable, being approachable, being connected? It's asking good questions. People who ask more questions are more likable and more responsive. And asking questions is radical generosity. We want people to give us what they can by us giving them what they can. Because giving your attention through questions, through genuine curiosity, that tells people that your thoughts matter to me. So again, my experience, questions are the best way to make connections. They elicit deep feelings, responses from people, and not just verbal responses, not just words back. You're going to get emotion. You're going to get cognitive response. You're going to get thought provoking response. As my buddy Keith Billis over on Mornings in the Lab says, conversations are like a tennis match. I serve, you volley. I serve, you volley. And that's what great questions can do. Last, I want to talk a little bit about some names, some people that you probably have heard of. And I want to ask you, what do all of these people have in common? Barbara Walters, Oprah Winfrey, Larry King, Howard Stern, James Lipton, Terry Gross. Do you know those names? Those are some of the greatest interviewers in media history. They're people who get connected to their subject, they do deep research, They understand how to get the response from the subject that they really want. And I'm learning how to do that here on Kindness Rising. I'm learning from Keith Billis, who I also consider to be a great interviewer. If you have a chance, get over to Mornings in the Lab, 8 o'clock every day, and check out Keith's interview techniques. He asks some of the best questions. It's what attracted me to the Business Athletes Performance Lab. It's what brought me here. It's what gave me the courage to come out and do this show every day. So I want to thank Keith for being a model of great question asking. And I encourage you all to get over to Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends, 8 a.m. every day. So all this week, we're talking about great communication. Yesterday, I gave some of my opinions, my thoughts on what I think is great communication, and some research and organizations that do great communication. Today, we're focused on asking great questions. I have said it. I've said it here. I'll say it again. Being able to ask a great question is easy. It's free. It's the most genuine way to really connect with another human being and have those great conversations. And that leads to innovation, creativity, ideas, and drives the world forward. All the great things that have happened in our world, all the great advances, all the great scientific and technological movements, all the philosophical movements, all started with a question. So let's get out there and ask some great questions. Think about it. Listen to people's response. Play tennis with them. Serve, volley. All those things that will make a great conversation. Still going to follow the model that we do every day. Going to give you a kindness spotlight, an organization that is really embracing the idea of asking questions. It's an organization that I found while researching this show, and I think that's really cool how they took a problem, asked a question, and came up with a solution that is unique, it's impactful, and again, it's moving the world forward with kindness, with generosity, and it has downstream impact for the rest of the world. So let's talk about that organization right now. This is our kindness spotlight here on Kindness Rising. The organization I want to spotlight today has the word question right in their name. It's the Right Question Institute. They're found at rightquestion.org. They were formed in 1990 by a guy named Dan Rothstein, who was an academician researching and trying to help parents with school attendance, how to get kids to get to school, stay in school, and be engaged. It happened in Massachusetts. It was all about dropout prevention and school attendance. And they went out there and they talked to parents about how parents can help to get their kids to school and stay in school. And one parent said to Dan the uh, the statement that drove this entire has driven this entire organization since 1990. That parent said, "We don't know what questions to ask." That elicited the response from Dan that not knowing how to ask the right question was the barrier to participation in these dropout programs and could change the world, change those kids every day. So he came up with the organization. He came up with a program that still exists today. It's free to the world, which is what's amazing. They don't ask for money for it. They do ask for donations, and they're making their living in other ways. But they want to make it possible for all people to ask their own questions, to ask the right question. Their vision is an equitable world where all people have the agency to think and act and change the world. Their programming is in three main areas. The first is in teaching and learning. It started in education, it continues in education. They developed something called the question formulation technique. I encourage you to go to rightquestion.org to learn more about it. I'm not going to get into it today, but look into the question formulation technique. It just could change your life. They're also focused on legal empowerment. They discovered that some of the problems that they were trying to solve were really about people who needed legal advocacy to move their world forward. Their last thing was voter engagement. They were leaning into democracy. They want to help build democratic skills, have people question the things that are going on in the world by questioning the decisions that are made, the way power speaks to us, and the way power influences us, those laws and our government is a key part of their mission. Let's talk a little bit about their impact. Their question formulation technique has been rolled out in over 160 countries. They have 85,000 plus people that are part of the rightquestions.org community that are out there asking great questions of each other, learning how to engage in great conversation. And across that 85,000 people, there's 180 countries represented. The key quote that came from my research in this came from a person who's involved in their program, and I think this is what the rightquestion.org would probably want me to focus on, which is we by asking the right questions, learning the question formulation technique. A woman said, "We don't have to depend on others to speak for us. We can now speak for ourselves." Asking questions is a way to speak for yourself. It's a way to find power and empowerment and drive our political discourse forward, drive our businesses forward, and really make a difference in the world. So my call to action to you is to look into the rightquestion.org, join their free online community, explore their training opportunities. I told you they're making so much of this free and available to organizations, to students, to parents, to nonprofits, charitable and social impact organizations, those that I like to focus on in my business, Uncommon Kindness. And of course, if you have a chance, consider making a donation to help move the world forward by teaching people how to ask the right question. That's our kindness spotlight for today. Hope it was insightful. Take a look at rightquestion.org, and we can all help to move things forward together. Now let's move into the kindness news. Always talk about business a little bit here on Kindness Rising. It's really important to me that we focus on our self-improvement. By focusing on our self-improvement, we can have impact in our organizations, on the people we lead, on the customers that we serve, on the entire world. That's what we're here for. So we're going to talk a little bit about questions. We're going to talk a little bit about academic research. I want to tell you some stories that I've learned again in my research on this matter. Harvard University, again, did studies about asking questions and about the concept of curiosity. And what they discovered through their research is that creativity is increased by 34%, being open to new ideas, to trying new things, to innovation. 34% greater creativity is increased when people demonstrate curiosity. There's research done in call centers. We all hate those calls from telemarketers that we get. I've actually used to work in the industry of call centers and business to business call centers, inside sales. But research in that world of call centers discovered that the most curious employees are the ones who are the most creative problem solvers. A lot of times in business, we want to keep people in their little box. We don't want them asking questions. Just do what I say, and it'll get taken care of. But actually, this research in call centers found that those individuals, the people who are on the telephone making calls or answering your customer service calls, The ones who display the most curiosity, that ask the most questions, that seek answers and deeper understanding through questions, they're the ones that are the most creative problem solvers. They're the ones that really move the needle forward for the businesses. Also, there are companies like 3M, makers of the Post-it note, life-changing invention, a piece of paper with some glue on it, and even Facebook. They give their employees what they call exploration time. It's dedicated programs to encouraging their employees to ask questions, to look deeper into issues, to check out things that they're most interested in, maybe not even related to the business. And again, they have seen the effects, the benefits of encouraging curiosity and asking questions. Here on Kindness Rising, the fox is our logo, and uncommon kindness. The fox is a key part of us, part of my visual branding here. And the reason I chose that was exactly that. The fox is curious. The fox wants to know the answers. The fox wants to learn, be able to move their own agenda forward, frankly. And it's not about being selfish, but it's about being curious, learning, growing, doing something new every day. So lean into curiosity in your business. Give your chance for your employees to to grow through curiosity and questioning. Another leadership insight uh, is from a guy named John Hagel, Silicon Valley executive. I forget honestly what organization that he works for, but I love his quote because I've experienced it myself. I know a lot of you out there have experienced it yourself, whether it's in business or in your personal lives, whether it's with your parents or your children or your spouse or your friends. People who claim all answers are clueless. The one thing I know is that I know nothing. And that's why I ask questions. That's why I lean into learning from other people, trying to get responses from people so that I can learn and grow. It's the best way, I'd argue, possibly the only way for us to develop and grow ourselves as people is asking questions. And anyone who tells you that they know all the answers is clueless or lying. That's why questions equal humility. Questions equal grace. They equal growth. Last, I want to tell you a little bit about a viral story that I found really heartwarming. I didn't know about it again until I started researching this idea of asking questions and the impact that questions can have. This is more of a personal story. It's not really necessarily about business, but it shows the impact that one great question can have on the world. And it wasn't even a question, it was a statement that elicited the response. Out there's a guy on TikTok. His name is Luis Olivas. I think I pronounced that correct on TikTok. And he made a statement some months back that said this: "For the boys, go ahead and tell me about her." The responses to this were so emotional. This is where I got the title for today's episode, the question that made 81,000 men cry. Tell me about her. He genuinely wanted men to talk about the women in their lives. Here on Kindness Rising, we believe that all lives have value. We lean into multiple perspectives, and obviously, 50% of our population are women, and so we want to hear from women, and we want to hear about women and lift women up. So, Luis Olivas asked the question: "Go ahead, boys, tell me about her." And here's what happened: 81,000 comments from that one statement, over 1 million likes on his TikTok, almost 100,000 reshares. And here's some of the responses that he got, because I think these are really, really cool. If there's another lifetime, I would stand where I first saw her. She's that moment of peace when you pass under a bridge. I love those two statements that were elicited from this question. So bringing it all together, asking questions, absolutely essential. Curiosity will move your businesses forward. It will move your life forward. Listen, check it out, be emotional in your response, get people to be thinking, to be curious and cognitively aware of what's going on, and there will be benefits. Last statement. This is where I think is the sad part and why it's really important. Bringing it back to that same research that Harvard University did, 34% increase in creativity when people are curious. But in that study, only 24%, less than a quarter of the people that were interviewed, they said that they feel curious at work regularly. I think it's really vital for our leaders to encourage curiosity, to ensure that they're telling their people, asking their people to ask questions, and being responsive with the truth. We talked about truth yesterday on the show. The truth will set you free. Honesty is the key in responding to those questions. And when we encourage our employees to ask good questions, we will see the results and the outcomes in our business. And that's today's kindness news. Let's move on now to our kindness call. Every day, I try to give a challenge. This is where we check out the comments, always at about 50 minutes, 7:50 a.m. Eastern time. I'm going to jump into the comments. We'll take a look at what people have to say, and then we'll talk about what my challenge is to you all today about asking questions. Of course, thank you, Adam and Bernard, always here on the vertical, chiming in and saying good morning. And then Lady Drew, of course, over here, thinking, never giving up. There's never shame in requesting the assistance one truly needs. There's only shame in not doing it. I love that. Thank you so much to those of you who've joined in. There's others listening out there live. Please get involved in the comments. Encourage your friends to subscribe and get involved. I really think we're going to move the needle forward with Kindness Rising, and the way to do it is through this community. Thank you all very much for joining. And I know there's others out there. I see the numbers in my little corner up here. I know there's others of you out there. So please join in the chat. It's the way we're really going to have impact here on the show. I'm only one person. Soon I hope to be bringing guests on so that I can ask some good questions. I've put that out there. If you know someone who's in a nonprofit organization, a charity, someone who's doing good work in the world, I don't care if they're connected to an organization or not, someone who needs to be spotlighted, who needs to help us all to think a little bit more kindly and ask the right questions. Invite them, tell them about the show. Tell them to reach out to me in the DMs, get involved in the show, and we'll get them here on a guest. If any of you out there want to be a guest and tell us about how you're being kind in the world and how kindness has impacted you, I welcome you too. So please come join. We're only in week 3. We're just getting started, but we're going to keep driving forward. And the way to do that is through conversation and guests. I love sitting here and talking to you all, but how much better would the program be if we had a little bit of interaction and conversation? So let's move on to the kindness call. We've talked about every day trying to do one thing a little bit differently, thinking a little bit differently about our lives, and approaching things with curiosity. So today's kindness call is the question quest. So I want you to do this for 7 days. It's a little bit of a more sustained effort. I usually only ask you to do it today and come back tomorrow. Today, I'm going to ask you for 7 days to ask one meaningful question a day, to find a way to make a deeper connection through curiosity. And I want you to think about the questions that we ask. We all ask questions every day. when we get together at the end of the day or at the breakfast table, at the dinner table, when we're out and about in the world and interacting with the people who we do every day, we ask questions. How was your day? How are you? You know, those general questions. But if we can be a little bit more specific with our questions, I swear to you, it will make a huge difference in the type of conversations that you have, the curiosity, your learning, and your growth. So instead of saying, "Hey, how was work?" How about if we ask, "What was the most interesting part of your day today?" I know I used to do this with my kids. They'd come home from school and I'd say, instead of saying, "Hey, how was your day? Anything good happen?" You know, that kind of thing. I would ask them specifically, "What was the most interesting part of your day? What did you learn today that you never knew before?" Those kind of questions that are just a little bit deeper and a little bit more uh, uh, I keep saying the word illicit over and over again. I'm realizing that now. But that really get that response from people that you want. Instead of asking someone, "How are you?" How about, "What's bringing you joy today?" Right? It puts a positive mindset into somebody's head. It might feel a little awkward at first because we're not used to doing it. We all do it. We all walk around and go, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing?" "Fine, fine, fine." "How you doing?" "Good, fine." "Hey, good day." "Hi, fine." What's bringing you joy today? What are you challenged with today? How can I help you today? Those are great questions. How about if you're at work, you want to ask somebody, "What are you feeling energized about today? What made you get up today and come to work?" Right? What's something you're proud of that you've done? Those are questions that elicit, again, that word elicit. They really draw out the response from people and will get conversations going a lot better than the generic and the general. So that's your challenge. 7 days of asking better questions. Think about the questions you ask. And then if you want to take it to another level, a whole nother thing, instead of asking that questions to other people, start asking questions to yourself. What am I curious about right now? What do I want to learn? What question am I avoiding that I'm not asking? Those are really good questions. So dig in for yourself and for others. Start asking really great questions. Come back tomorrow, share in the comments, and join in the community here on Kindness Rising. And together we will rise and have a great day. So that's it. That's today's show. It's 7:57. We're going to wind down. We talk a little bit about what we talked about, the Harvard research on likability and trust. Asking great questions leads to more likability. Everybody wants to be liked. Everybody wants to feel like they're making a difference in the world. And you don't have to do it by telling people or teaching people. All you have to do is ask the right question, right? We talked about the Right Question Institute. That's what they're doing. They're helping people to learn. Check out the question formulation theory, and see if that might help you to think about better questions. We talked about the fact that there's business benefits for asking the right question. 34% greater activity, but only 24%, or excuse me, 34% greater creativity in those people who ask questions, but only 24% feel like they can be curious. As business leaders, we want to lean into that curiosity. We talked about the viral moment of asking about your woman. Ask questions out there in the world. Put it out on social media. I've done it. I've seen tremendous response. A lot different when you lead with a question than when you lead with just a general statement. So questions, they bring out genuine interest in others. It creates space to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. Choose creativity and curiosity over judgment. Ask those questions. Listen with an open heart. Listen with an open mind. And that's the show for today. Of course, I'm always going to end with a little promo, right? I already talked about it. Get people here, join Kindness Rising, get involved, get in the community. That's how we're going to really move people forward. Subscribe to Uncommon Kindness. Find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, uh, Instagram, all the platforms. Please come find me. Interact with me in the chats. I love DMs. I don't mind when people drop into my DMs. Don't really love the pitch slaps, as they call them, but I do love it when people drop into my DMs because it gives me a chance to ask them questions and learn and grow. So come on over, subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to all those challenges. I am seeking guests for the show, so reach out to me in the DMs. All right. Let's talk about the last thing I want to talk about, which is tomorrow's show. Today we talked about questions. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the tough conversations. Today was a really fun, I feel like, energetic show. We're going to bring that same energy to tomorrow and really talk about those difficult conversations. There are techniques, there are ways. It's important to lean into those tough conversations. But let's talk about how we can evolve our kindness by getting into those tough conversations. Questions build bridges in a divided world. Every conversation is an opportunity to make someone feel valued. So choose curiosity over judgment and connection over division. And as always, stay uncommon and stay kind.